Ladies and gentlemen, let me start with a small confession. Most people don't fail because they're lazy. They fail because they are too realistic. Yes, too realistic. We live in a world where everyone says be practical, have a backup plan, don't dream too big. But let me ask you something. When was the last time something practical changed the world? Nobody ever said, I had a very reasonable dream and history was made. No. Big things always start with uncomfortable ideas. So today, I want to share 5 steps to achieve any goal, not theory, not textbook motivation. Real life thinking that works when life is messy. Step 1 is choose a goal that makes you look crazy. Let's be honest. If your goal makes people say nice, your goal is too safe. But if your goal makes them laugh first, then say, yeah, okay. That's a good sign. Because every meaningful goal starts as a bad joke. Let me make this very real. You say you want to start a YouTube channel. Your friend says, everyone is doing that. You say you want to start a business. Someone says, now, in this economy, you say you want to change your life. People say, after this year, after that responsibility, after some time, that sometime never comes. Here's the truth nobody tells you. Confidence doesn't come first, clarity doesn't come first, support definitely doesn't come first. First comes confusion, then comes embarrassment, then slowly, confidence shows up. Every successful person has screenshots of old work they hope nobody finds. Now let me give you a famous example you probably didn't hear in motivational speeches. Before becoming a global icon, Rihanna was told she wasn't marketable enough. Wrong look, wrong sound, wrong image. Today, she didn't just succeed in music. She built a beauty empire and became one of the wealthiest self-made women in the world. Same person, same talent, different timing. The world didn't believe first, she did. Another example, Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, wanted to build a company focused on graphics processing when most people didn't even know what that meant. Back then, people thought graphics is just for games. Too small, too risky. Today, that small idea is powering artificial intelligence, medicine, cars, and the future. The idea wasn't crazy, it was just early. Now let's come back to you. Your crazy goal doesn't need to be famous. It needs to be honest. Maybe your crazy goal is being the first person in your family to stop struggling the same way. Maybe it's learning something new while your friends are just trying to survive Mondays. Maybe it's creating instead of just consuming. Maybe it's saying, I don't want this version of my life. If your goal doesn't make you slightly uncomfortable to say out loud, you're playing too safe. And listen, this part matters. A goal is not a contract, it's a direction. You don't need to know how it will work, you just need to decide where you're going. The how shows up when you start moving. Here's a quick test. Does this goal excite you? Does it scare you? Would you still try if nobody clapped? Would future you respect this decision? If yes, keep it quiet, protect it, work on it. Because explaining your dream to the wrong people is like trying to charge your phone with the wrong cable. Ladies and gentlemen, step 2 is stop waiting to feel ready. Let me say this clearly. Before your brain tries to negotiate with me, you will never feel ready. If you're waiting for confidence, motivation, money, time, or permission, congratulations, you've chosen the longest route to nowhere. Most people don't fail at their goals, they postpone them to death. They say, after I learn more, after I save more, after things settle down. Let me tell you something uncomfortable. Things never settle down. Life doesn't calm down and give you a green signal. Life pushes you while you're tying your shoes. Let's make this relatable. You want to start something. Your brain says, just one more week of planning. 1 week becomes 1 month, 1 month becomes 1 year. Now you don't even want the goal, you just feel guilty about it. That's not laziness, that's fear wearing a suit called preparation. Here's the funny part. You don't get clarity by thinking, you get clarity by doing something badly. Nobody starts good, they start awkward. The first video is bad, the first attempt is messy, the first version makes you cringe. And that's normal. Let me give you a famous example. Howard Schultz, the man behind Starbucks, didn't start with a global coffee empire. He started by trying to convince people that paying extra for coffee made sense. At the time, people said, why would anyone pay that much for coffee? Today, people pay that price without even thinking. He didn't wait until the idea felt perfect. He tested it while it was still uncomfortable. Another example, Oprah Winfrey was once told she was not fit for television. Too emotional, not the right look, not the right style. Imagine if she said, maybe they're right. I'll wait until I feel ready. There would be no Oprah. Readiness didn't create her success. Movement did. Now let's bring this back to your life. You don't need to change everything today. You just need to start ugly. Send the message. Post the video. Learn the skill. Apply for the thing. Show up before you feel confident. Because confidence is not the entry ticket. It's the receipt you get after action. And here's the mistake most people make. They want to start when they feel fearless. But courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is moving while fear is sitting right next to you, judging you. So here's a simple rule you can use. If you have 60% clarity, that's enough. If you feel 70% ready, that's too much. Start before your brain talks you out of it. Because waiting feels safe. But waiting slowly kills momentum. And momentum is everything. Let me end this part with this. You don't need a perfect plan. You need a starting point. Start messy, start scared, start now. Step 3 is build systems, not motivation. Let's be honest for a second. Motivation is amazing for about 2 days. Day 1, you're unstoppable. New mindset, new playlist, you're fixing your whole life. Day 4, you're tired. Day 6, you're busy. Day 10, you're back to saying, I'll restart from Monday. That's not because you're weak, that's because motivation is emotional, and emotions are unstable. If motivation worked, nobody would have unfinished goals, half-read books, or gym memberships they don't use. Now let me make this very relatable. You don't wake up every day motivated to check your phone. You just do it. You don't debate whether to open Instagram. You don't need inspiration to scroll. Why? Because it's a system. Automatic, effortless, no thinking involved. You don't brush your teeth because you're motivated. You brush them because it's a system. That's the same way progress needs to work. Most people try to change their life using excitement. That never lasts. People who actually change their life use structure. Let me give you a very real example. You want to work on something after a long day, but then you sit down, you check your phone for 5 minutes, suddenly it's been 45. Now you're tired, now you're annoyed, now you say, tomorrow I'll do it properly. Sound familiar? That's not laziness. That's lack of a system. A system removes decision making. Instead of asking, do I feel like it? The system says, this is what we do at this time. Another example, you want to learn a skill. So you tell yourself, I'll study for 1 hour daily. 1 hour sounds small until it's time to start. So your brain says, let's do it later, when we have more energy. Later never comes. But what if the system was 10 minutes? No excuses. 10 minutes feels harmless. Your brain doesn't fight it, and once you start, you often continue. Systems trick your brain in a good way. Haruki Murakami, a world-famous writer, doesn't wait for inspiration. He writes at the same time every day, even when it feels boring, even when nothing exciting comes out. He trusts the system, not his mood. Another example, Serena Williams didn't train only on days she felt powerful. She trained on tired days, boring days, ordinary days. Champions aren't built on good days. They're built on average days. Now bring this back to your life. If your progress depends on motivation, your future depends on how you feel that day. That's risky. Because some days you feel confident, some days you feel lazy. Some days you feel like quitting everything. A system protects you from yourself. Instead of saying, I'll work when I'm motivated, say, at 8 p.m., I work for 15 minutes. No thinking, no drama, no debate, no waiting for the perfect mood. And here's the funny thing. Once the system is in place, motivation comes back. Because progress feels good. Action creates motivation, not the other way around. So stop asking, how do I stay motivated? Ask, what can I make automatic? Because the people who win are not more inspired than you. They're just more consistent on boring days. You don't need a life-changing routine. You need a repeatable one. Small, simple, boring, and that's exactly why it works. Step 4 is learn to survive the nothing is happening phase. This is the part nobody warns you about. Not the beginning is exciting. Not success looks good on camera. I'm talking about the middle. That quiet, boring, frustrating phase where you're doing the work but nothing is happening. No results, no praise, no proof, just effort. This is where most people quit. Not because they can't do it, but because they think it's not working. You start something new. First few days, you're excited. You tell yourself, this time is different. A few weeks pass. No one notices, no one comments, no one claps. Now the doubts start. Am I wasting my time? Is this even for me? Others are moving faster, and the worst one, maybe I'm just not built for this? That thought has ended more dreams than failure ever did. Here's the truth. Progress is invisible before it becomes obvious. But social media messed this up for us. We only see the highlight, the announcement, the success story. We don't see the months where nothing happened. Let me give you an example. You go to the gym, day 1, pain. Day 10, pain. Day 30, still pain. You look in the mirror and think, am I getting scammed? But your body is changing. Just slowly, quietly. Quit too early and you never see it. Same with any goal. Another relatable one. You start learning a skill. At first you improve fast, then suddenly plateau. Same mistakes, same level, same frustration. That doesn't mean you're stuck. It means you've entered the growth zone. Now a famous example. J.K. Rowling was rejected multiple times before her book was accepted. Imagine how many days she thought, this is going nowhere. We talk about her success, we forget the silence before it. Another one. Stephen King once threw his manuscript in the trash. Someone else believed in it before the world did. Success didn't arrive because they were sure. It arrived because they didn't quit during the quiet part. Now let's bring it back to you. If you're in a phase where you're working, but not winning yet, you're trying, but not shining yet, you're improving, but not celebrated yet, you're not failing, you're early. The problem is, most people treat silence as rejection. It's not, it's preparation. Here's a rule you need to remember. If you quit during the boring phase, you restart from zero. If you stay, momentum builds quietly. And here's the funny thing. The day results show up, people say, wow, you're so lucky. They didn't see the months of nothing. Don't confuse no applause with no progress. Stay, repeat, trust the process longer than your emotions. Step 5 is raise your standards, or you'll slide back. Let me warn you about something nobody talks about. Reaching a goal is not the hardest part. Staying at that level is. Most people don't lose because they can't succeed. They lose because once things get better, they relax. They say, I made it. I deserve a break. I'll slow down a little. That little becomes a lot. Let's make this very relatable. You finally fix one area of your life. You feel proud. You feel comfortable. Then slowly, old habits start knocking. One missed day becomes 2. 2 becomes a week. Now you're telling yourself, it's okay. I already proved I can do it. And that's how progress quietly disappears. Not with drama, with comfort. Another relatable example. You start earning better. At first you're careful. Then lifestyle upgrades begin. Better food, more spending, less discipline. Your income went up, but your standards didn't. So nothing really changed. Here's the truth. Your life always moves toward the standard you tolerate, not your goals, not your motivation, your standards. Let me give you a famous example. Michael Jordan didn't just raise his performance, he raised his standards. He expected excellence from himself every day. That's why even after winning, he trained like he was behind. That mindset kept him at the top. Another example. Rihanna didn't stop at music success. She raised her standards and built businesses that matched her vision. Success didn't make her lazy, it made her sharper. Now let's bring this back to you. When you start improving, don't lower the bar to feel comfortable. Raise the rules. Instead of saying, I'll work when I feel like it, say, this is who I am now. Identity beats motivation every time. You don't negotiate with who you believe you are. A disciplined person doesn't ask, should I do this today? They just do it. And here's the funny part. High standards don't make life harder. They make decisions easier. No drama, no overthinking, no restarting every few months. You just show up. Let me leave you with this final thought. Goals change your direction. Systems move you forward. Patience keeps you going. But standards decide where you stay. So don't just reach your goal. Become the kind of person who doesn't fall back. Because the real win is not success. The real win is not having to start over again. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to like and subscribe, my friends.